Good day, everyone. I am Asusa J. Santiago from MBA 1A. I am assigned to discuss the first six topics of Part 11, the HR skills. It can be argued that fully fledged HR professionals have to be able to deploy a range of skills supported by knowledge that is wider than what is required by any other professional working in the organizations. Even if this claim cannot be substantiated, it is incontrovertible that a very wide variety of skills have to be used by HR specialists on a day-to-day basis. And these are the topics assigned to me to discuss. Strategic HRM skills, business skills, problem-solving skills, analytical and critical skills, research skills, and statistical skills. Strategic HRM skills. HR professionals are constantly being urged to be strategic. In this topic, we can examine what this means and describes the knowledge and skills required. The strategic role of the HR professional. HR strategic activities support the achievement of the organization's goals and values by aligning HR strategies with business strategies. HR professionals are involved in the development and implementation of forward-looking HR strategies that are integrated with one another. Importantly, they work with their line management colleagues in the continuous formulation and execution of the business strategy. HR professionals, especially at the highest level, make a strategic contribution to ensure that the organization has the quality of skilled and engaged people it needs. According to Sparrow, HR must be fully responsive to the strategy and business model of the business. HR is not a rule to itself. It is not HR for HR, but HR for the business. The strategic nature of HR has been expressed in the strategic business partner model. In the strategic business partner model, HR professionals as strategic business partners work closely with management, influencing the business strategy and contributing to its implementation. They share responsibility with their line management colleagues for the success of the enterprise. HR professionals as business managers who have the capacity to identify business opportunities, to see the broad picture, and to understand how their role can help to achieve the company's business objectives. They integrate their activities closely with top management and ensure that they serve a long-term strategic purpose. They anticipate needs, act flexible, and are proactive. To ensure that management practices becomes a means for gaining a sustained competitive advantage, human resource professionals need to become strategic business partners and gear their activities to improving business performance. HR should be aware of ethical as well as business considerations and act accordingly. Also, the term strategic business partner has been shortened in common parlance to business partner. HR business partners work closely with line managers and enable them to achieve their objectives through their people. The strategic role of HR professionals varies in accordance with their level of function as HR directors, heads of HR functions, business partners, or HR advisors and assistants. What are the strategic role of HR directors? The strategic role of HR directors is to promote the achievement of the organization's goals and values by first developing and implementing HR strategies that are integrated with the business strategy and are coherent and mutually supportive. And second, ensuring that a strategic approach is adopted that provides that HR activities support the business and add value. And third, taking into the account the ethical dimension of HRM. The strategic role of heads of HR functions. This is almost the same as the functions of the HR directors. The strategic role of heads of HR functions is fundamentally the same for their function as that the HR directors for the whole organization. They promote the achievement of the organization's business goals by developing and implementing functional strategies that are aligned with the business strategy and integrated with the strategies of other HR functions, and adopt a strategic approach in the sense of ensuring that HR activities support the business, add value, and are ethical. Next is the strategic role of HR business partners. The strategic role of HR business partners is to promote the achievement of the business goals of the organizational unit or function in which they operate. Next, the strategic contribution of HR advisors or assistants. The role of HR advisors or assistants is primarily that of delivering effective HR services within their function or as a member of an HR service center. While they are unlikely to be responsible for the formulation of HR strategies, they may contribute to them within their own specialty. They will need to understand the business goals of the departments or managers for whom they provide services in order to ensure that these services support the achievement of those goals. They should fully take into account ethical considerations when performing their role. And last, the strategic skills required. HR professionals who act strategically will think about the organization wants to be and become and what they can do to ensure this happens. This will have insight into the real needs of the business and its people and will take a broad view of where the business is going. They will, they will be capable of seeing the big picture, looking beyond the confines of the immediate problems and the business face to what lies ahead, and how these problems can be solved, and what they can do to support the efforts of other people. 10 things to do if you want to be strategic. Number 1, exercise insight. This is to understand the business and its competitive environment, what makes it successful, and the external and internal political, social, competitive, and economic factors that affects its performance. Number 2, be aware of the goals of the business and its plan to attain them and understand the business model. Number 3, align what you are doing with the organization's business strategy. Number 4, know where you are going and how you are going to get there. Number 5, remember that formal strategic plans do not guarantee success. It is the implementation of the plans that delivers results. Number 6, know how to plan the use of resources to make the best use of business opportunities. Number 7, understand how you can contribute to the achievement of the objectives of the key functions in the business and support the strategic activities of your colleagues. Number 8, be able to foresee longer-term developments, envisage options and their probable consequences, and select sound courses of action. Number 9, rise above the day-to-day detail and see the broad picture. And last is to challenge the status quo. Next HR skill to be discussed is business skills. HR professionals can be regarded as business people with particular expertise in people rather than as HR people who happen to work for a business. To make an effective contribution, they must possess business and financial skills. They need to understand, as well as skills in dealing with people, how the organization delivers value to its customers and how the business achieves competitive advantage and makes money. They need to understand and be able to use the language of the business, and because this will generally be expressed in monetary terms, they need to appreciate how the financial systems of the business work. They also need to know about the concepts of the business model and business model innovation in order to understand how the business makes money now and intends to do so in the future so that they can do something about it. HR professionals can develop the skills needed to interpret the organization's business or corporate strategies, to contribute to the formulation of those strategies, and to develop integrated HR strategies. But first, we have to identify what is business skills. Business skills are required to adopt a business-like approach to management, one that focuses on allocating resources to business opportunities and making the best use of them to achieve the required results. Financial skills. A business-like approach means using financial skills to know how to analyze and interpret balance sheet, cash flow and trading statements, profit and loss accounts, and to understand and make use of the financial techniques of budgeting and budgetary control, cash budgeting, and costing. HR professionals also need to know about the concepts of business model and how this influences their activities. A business model provides a picture of an organization explaining how it achieves competitive advantage and makes money. A business model consists of four interlocking elements that, taken together, create and deliver value. These are the customer value proposition, the profit formula, key resources, and key processes. The customer value proposition. This is how the business will create value for its customers. This is the most important element. The profit formula. The blueprint that defines how the company creates value for itself while providing value to the customer. It consists of the revenue model, cost structure, margin model, and resource velocity. Key resources. These are the assets such as people, technology, products, facilities, equipments, channels, and brand required to deliver the value proposition to the targeted customers. And last is the key processes. These are the recurrent tasks such as training, development, Mag- manufacturing, budgeting, planning and sales that allows firms to deliver value in a way that they can successfully repeat and increase in scale. Key processes also include a company's rules, metrics, and norms. Business model innovation. Business model innovation is the process of developing new business models or changing existing ones in order to deliver better value to customers, achieve competitive advantage, and increase profitability. Another definition is that the business model innovation refers to the creation or reinvention of business. Though innovation is more often seen in the form of a new product or service offering, a business model innovation results in an entirely different type of company that competes not only on the value of the proposition of its offering, but aligns its profit formula, resources, and processes to enhance that value proposition and capture new market segments and alienate competitors. Business model analysis and design. Business model analysis is a necessary part of business model innovation. It is concerned with two key issues. Number one, how the organization creates value, and number two, how the organization establishes unique resources, assets, or positions that will achieve competitive advantage. It may involve an analysis of how value is generated at each stage of the value chain. A value chain identifies the sequence of activities in the firm that are strategically relevant and underlie its capabilities. A central task for HR directors is to identify how they are as leaders and how their functions, own delivery model, structure, and the people processes it manages add value during periods of business model change. HR skills is the problem-solving skills. Problem-solving is a constant feature of life in organizations and elsewhere. It is something that HR professionals do all the time. A logical approach is desirable, but this is not easy. The situations where problems have to be solved are often messy, with conflicting evidence, lack of data, and political and emotional issues affecting those involved. But the principles of getting and analyzing what information is available, considering alternatives and making the best choice based on the evidence, an analysis of the context, and an assessment of the possible consequences remain the same. But it is not possible to apply neat, logical, and sequential methods. What is problem solving? Problem solving is the process of analyzing and understanding a problem, diagnosing its cause, and deciding on a solution that solves the problem and prevents it being repeated. You will often have to react to problems as they arise, but as far as possible, a proactive approach is desirable. How can you improve your ability to solve problems? These are the few basic approaches you should use. Number one, improve your analytical ability. Number two, be creative. Number three, keep it simple. Number four, focus on implementation. And number five, involve people. These are the 12 steps of problem solving. Number one, define the situation. Establish what has gone wrong or is about to go wrong. Number two, specify objectives. Define what is to be achieved now or in the future to deal with an actual or potential problem or a change in circumstances. Number three, develop hypotheses. Develop hypotheses about what has caused the problem. Number four, get the facts. Number five, analyze the facts. Number six, identify possible courses of action. Number seven, evaluate alternative courses of action. Number eight, weigh and decide. Number nine, decide on the objective. Set out goals for implementation of the decision. Number 10, adopt a means-end approach where appropriate. Number 11, plan implementation. And last is to implement. Another HR skill is analytical and critical skills. What is evidence-based management? Evidence-based management is a method of informing decision-making by making use of appropriate information derived from the analysis of policy and practices and surveys of employees' opinion within the organization, systematic benchmarking, and the messages delivered by relevant research. It was also defined as a decision-making process combining critical thinking with the use of the best available scientific evidence and business information. Evidence-based HR is motivated by a basic fact: faulty practices and decision-making abound in HR. Evidence-based management combines four fundamental features in everyday management practice and decision-making. It is the use of the best available evidence from peer-reviewed sources. It is systematic gathering of organizational facts, indicators, and metrics to better act on the evidence. Practitioner judgment assisted by procedures, practices, and framework that reduces bias, improve decision quality, and create more vivid learning over time. And last is ethical considerations, weighing the short and long-term impacts of decisions of stakeholders and society. What are analytical skills? Analysis is the process of breaking down a condition or state of affairs into its constituents parts and establishing the relationships between them. It involves discerning the particular features of the situation. Analytical skills are used to gain a better understanding of a complex situation or problem. They involve the ability to visualize, articulate, and solve complex problems and concepts, and make decisions based on available information. Analytical skills include the capacity to evaluate that information to assess its significance, and the ability to apply logical and critical thinking into the situation. They provide the basis for a diagnosis of the cause or causes of a problem, and therefore for its solution. Importantly, they are the means of gaining insight into issues that affect the success of the business and that influence business and HR strategy. Logical reasoning. Logical reasoning is the basis of critical thinking and evaluation. It takes place when there is a clear relationship between the premise and the conclusion, which is supported by valid and reliable evidence and does not rely on fallacious or misleading argument. Logical reasoning is, is called thinking to some purpose. Clear thinking is required to establish the validity of a proposition, concept, or idea. It is necessary to question assumptions, especially when a belief is expressed as a fact. You need to ask yourself, what is the evidence for that? You have to spot fallacious and misleading arguments. A fallacy is an unsound form of argument leading to an error in reasoning or misleading information. Critical thinking. Critical thinking is the process of analyzing and evaluating the quality of ideas, theories, and concepts to establish the degree to which they are valid and supported by the evidence and the extent to which they are biased. It involves being on and interpreting data, drawing warranted conclusions, and recognizing ill-defined assumptions. Critical evaluation. Critical evaluation is the process of making informed judgments about the validity, relevance, and usefulness of ideas and arguments. Critical evaluation means not taking anything for granted and, where necessary, challenging propositions. It involves making informed judgments about the value of ideas and arguments. It uses critical thinking by analyzing and evaluating the quality of theories and concepts to establish the degree to which they are valid and supported by the evidence, and the extent to which they are biased. Testing propositions. Propositions based on research, investigations, and evidence can be tested by using the following checklist. And this is the checklist. Critically evaluating research. Putting the outcomes of research, for example, material published in academic journals, to the test requires critical evaluation, and these are the following checklists that can be used. Developing and justifying original arguments. An argument as an aspect of critical thinking consists of a presentation of reasons that support a contention. It consists of a proposition or statement that expresses a point of view or belief, the reasoning that makes a case for the proposition or point of view, a discussion, the aim of which is to get the reader or listener to agree with the case that has been made, and a conclusion that sums up the argument and its significance. Next HR skill is research skills. Research is concerned with establishing what is, and from this predicting what will be. It does not decide what ought to be. That is for people interpreting the lessons from research in their own context. Research is about the conception and testing of ideas and hypotheses. This is a creative and imaginative process. Logic and rational argument are methods of testing ideas after they have been created. Research can be based on a philosophy of positivism or phenomenology. Positivism is the belief that researchers should focus on facts, look for causality and fundamental laws, reduce phenomena to their simplest elements, formulate hypotheses, and then test them. Researchers are objective analysts. The emphasis in positivism is on quantifiable observations that lend themselves to statistical analysis. It tends to be deductive. Phenomenology focuses more on the meaning of phenomena than on the facts associated with them. Researchers adopting this philosophy try to understand what is happening. Their approach is holistic, covering the complete picture rather than reductionist. Researchers collect and analyze evidence, but their purpose is to use this data to develop ideas that explain the meaning of things. They believe that reality is socially constructed rather than objectively determined. Research methodology. Research methodology involves the collection and analysis of evidence and testing hypotheses or propositions. The methodology can include as appropriate the use of triangulation, cross-lab models, quantitative or qualitative research. Triangulation takes place when information is obtained from more than two sources. For example, surveys, case studies, and literature reviews. Cross-lag models are longitudinal statistical panel studies in which two or more variables are measured for a large number of subjects at each of several waves or points in time. The variables divided naturally into two sets, and the primary purpose of the analysis is to estimate and test the cross effect between these two sets. Quantitative research is empirical, based on the collection of factual data which is measured and quantified. And the qualitative research aims to generate insights into situations and behavior so that the meaning of what is happening can be understood. It emphasizes the interpretation of behavior from the point of view of the participants. Methods of collecting data. We have 8 main methods of collecting data. These are interviews, questionnaires, surveys, sampling, case studies, observation, diaries, and experimental designs. Processes involved in research. This section describes the logical, analytical, and critical thinking processes that are used in the research. These are deduction, induction, hypothesis testing, grounded theory, paradigms, and critical evaluation. Research involves deduction, which is the process of using logical reasoning to reach a conclusion that necessarily follows from general or universal premises. Research can also be based on induction, which is the process of reaching generalized conclusions from the observation of particular instances. Formulating an hypothesis is an important element in a research project that it provides a basis for the development of theory and the collection and analysis of data. An hypothesis is a supposition, a tentative explanation of something. It is a provisional statement that is taken to be true for the purpose of argument or a study and usually relates to an existing wider body of knowledge or theory. Grounded theory is an inductive method of developing the general features of a theory by grounding the account in empirical observations or evidences. The term paradigm has been popularized as meaning a way of looking at things. It is often used loosely, but properly it means the philosophical and theoretical framework of a scientific school or discipline within which theories, laws, and generalizations, and the experiments performed in support of them are formulated. And the critical evaluation involves making informed judgments about the value of ideas and arguments. And the last HR skill that I will be discussing is statistical skills. Statistics are used to describe and summarize data relating to a population. For example, is the homogeneous set of items with variable individual values. This involves measuring frequencies, central tendencies, and dispersion. Statistics are also used to measure the relationships between variables, to establish the relation between cause and effect, and to assess the degree of confidence that can be attached to conclusions and to test hypotheses. Statistics are used extensively in HRM to analyze and present quantitative information that can be used to guide decisions and monitor outcomes. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening and have a great day.